it's Doug with an opportunity to catch up with Karen Kingsbury. Tyler Russell are here. We're going to talk about 1,000 Tomorrows, a 6-part streamer on Flix right now. We're going to talk about a bunch of things. First of all, a woman who needs no introduction. I would be rude if I didn't introduce, and to make sure I get the stats right, 60 works of fiction and nonfiction, and 25 million copies of award-winning books in print. That, of course, is New York Times bestselling author Karen Kingsbury.
Thank you.
Son Tyler Russell here, also a New York Times bestselling author because it just trickles down, right?
Yeah, just somehow.
You guys have written the Baxter books and different things together, and now this book, which is streaming exclusively on Flix. We've got the season finale coming at the end of the month, and I'm even told 99 cents for your first month of Flix subscription through the end of the month to make sure you get in on that. So I want to make sure we love on Flix because it's the exclusive. Ben said, say exclusive, the exclusive place to stream 1,000 Tomorrows. So let's start with, what is this story about?
Well, 1,000 Tomorrows is a book that I wrote a few years ago, but it's the only one I have set in the rodeo. So that's really interesting. It is about an angry bull rider and a sick barrel racer, and their kind of separate private lives that they lead and the unlikely love story that develops between the two of them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what is it like working together?
You always start.
Yeah, you started.
I think it's great. I've learned so much from her, not only in growing up and seeing how she works as a writer, how she plans and manages her time, but now as collaborators, I feel like we've just found a great shorthand when it comes to working. Whether, like for this series, we outlined together, and then I went away and wrote all the episodes, and then we would get together and read them out loud, kind of like a table read. We would read the episodes, and she would give guidance about ways that it could be shaped. And it's such great material. It's such a great love story. So to get to tell that story over 6 episodes, we just got to expand on what God had already given her. That was so beautiful, and I think we have fun doing it. I think at the end of the day, we're family. So even if there's a disagreement about a character or a plot line, we're not going anywhere. We're family, and we want to serve each other and and serve the Lord. So it works really well, I think.
Yeah, Tyler did a great job. I had a choice of it's not going to happen, or I need to find a screenwriter. And there was nobody that I would have wanted more than Tyler. I called him. I said, hey, if your schedule's free, then I think that we have a TV show we can work on here. Because Sony, Flix was very interested and wanted to do it. And what I loved about Tyler is, now I write the tearjerkers, that's kind of what I'm known for, but Tyler is funny. And we need funny. You need funny in something like 1,000 Tomorrows. And he created ancillary characters that were not in the book, just to kind of round out Cody's world, the world of being a bull rider and living in the rodeo. And he needed buddies, he needed friends, and Tyler did a fantastic job creating those characters. I think it's a lot of why people are loving it.
Very cool, very cool. Well, if we dial it back, when you were growing up, did you gravitate towards writing? Was that kind of what you felt in middle and high school, or?
I always loved it. I think getting to see her do it, I loved the idea of writing and getting to have a story that could maybe impact people, or just, whether it was writing short stories or writing plays I would make my siblings act in, or make little movies at home. I always loved storytelling, and I do think it was watching her get to create. So I think I had it. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, he won a national storytelling or a fiction contest in 3rd grade or 5th grade. They had to write a short story, and he was first place in the country. Wow. I said, you know what? I'm going to keep an eye on that one.
It's in your blood.
Okay, I think I might be able to have someone who can help me out. That was the same with the Baxter Family Children books. We just had Being Baxters just released our 5th in that collection. Those are for 8 to 12-year-olds, kind of chapter books. And I said, same thing, I'd love to do it, but I'm writing 2 books a year. I don't have time. Tyler, would you be interested in doing this? And he brought so much humor to those. Kids are loving those books. So, I think having, and pretty soon, he directed this movie that we just did, I was telling you about with Karen Kingsbury Productions that we opened up last fall. He was a director and screenwriter, and he's so talented. I'm telling you, Doug. Honestly, people are going to say, Karen Kingsbury. Oh,
I'll pay you later.
She must be, isn't she that Tyler Russell's mom? That's what it's going to be. One day.
When the tide turns on that one. And it's nice to know that you're giving him a choice to be a part of the project and not pulling the mom guilt card like you have to.
You really have to give him choices, that's for sure.
And I took it seriously that she asked me. She's like, do you want to do this? And I prayed about it. And, I think as a creative person, you don't want to just do something because it's there. You want to be inspired by it. But honestly, growing up, like reading her books in high school and college, like I love the stories too. And I think we're seeing that people are resonating so much with the story because God's given her stories that they heal people's hearts and they can heal relationships and families. And so to be a part of that, I was like, yeah, sign me up. I would be so honored, and it's been so great.
That's awesome. Well, talk a little bit about some of the themes that are in the book and how that parallels with what we're all going through right now.
Yeah, I think one of the things you see right off the bat is that Cody is this angry bull rider, and he actually thinks that being angry is what makes him so good. He's very good, but he like bottles up this rage he has toward his father. Now, the father left. He was an NFL player. He left when the boys were young, two brothers, Cody and his Down syndrome younger brother. So Cody always understood, like, he heard his dad say, I can't be a father to Carl Joseph because he has Down syndrome. But Cody never really understood, why can't my dad be a dad to me? Like, what's broken in me? And so he carried that anger, and he had so much defensive love for Carl Joseph. So he just lives that way, and his mom sees it's killing him. Like, you can't live on anger. That's not a sustainable source of motivation for anybody. And so I think that theme plays in really early, where we go, what are you angry about? Like, and I think we're actually inviting people to watch this as a group. It's a co-viewing type thing. Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, we talk about Cody's anger, but also Allie, she has this sickness. She has cystic fibrosis, and she's a barrel racer. And even though she knows it's bad for her, she has decided that, yes, I have this illness, but I'm going to be strong and courageous anyway. I'm going to do what makes me happy, what I feel like God made me to do, and not let this stop me. And whether somebody has an illness or trauma from their past or pain, we're all going through something. And so what are you called to be strong and courageous in? We're not always promised tomorrow. And so Allie seized each day saying, well, if this is the only day I have, I'm going to do what I love and what God, made me to do. And so I think the audiences watching are feeling inspired by agreeing and saying, okay, yes, how can I be strong and courageous in my life? Or who can I forgive in my life? We don't want people just to consume it and then be done with it. I think we're so used to binging shows and you just watch it through and then you're done. But we're encouraging people to talk about it with people in their lives and really, I know they'll be entertained because the cast did great and the music's great. It's a great show. But we hope and we pray that it touches the heart. And I think that's why I think it was like the number one show on Flix. And it's not because it's so great, but I think it's because God is really speaking to people through it. And she's done a series of Bible studies that go along with each episode. And it really helps you dig into the material and look within yourself and say, how can I be strong and courageous? How can I be fearless? Forgive, restore my relationships. And it's something that we all need right now, I think.
Yeah, for such a time, yeah.
Now, as far as the inclusion of everyone, you mentioned the characters with the cystic fibrosis and the Down syndrome. So what has the response been from having that on the screen?
Yes, super sincere response on that. Cole Sebus plays our Carl Joseph, and he is so beautiful on screen. He's got some acting credits before this, so we knew we wanted him. He was our number one choice. And he brought things to the scene. So he would stick with the script, but then he would add things that he felt, and wow, it is just so powerful to watch him. And I just think people, they'll write in and they'll say, my brother has Down syndrome, or I had a good friend who had Down syndrome, like they relate to that through some aspect of their life. But maybe even more, you can learn from Carl Joseph. And I think that's drawing people back week after week.
That's awesome. What would you say would be some of the takeaways? What do you hope people come when they get that 6th episode and they've wrapped that up? What do you think they're talking about?
Well, we talked a little bit about this, the Bible study that we did, kind of did a 10-minute teaching piece that goes at the end of each episode, and then a downloadable study guide. So what we kind of hope is maybe you watched it like you would any show, and maybe you just binge watched it and enjoyed it, and that was fine. But when you get to the end, after you watch episode 6, go back and bring your neighbors. We're supposed to bring people in. We're supposed to share the good news of Jesus with people. That's our calling. And there's like no better way to do it than through the power of story, especially a story that isn't heavy-handed and just sort of, heavy-handed is fine. There's a place for that. But this is not that. This is a story that will speak to the heart, and you can bring your neighbors, your Bible study, your family group, and then watch the little piece at the end and get the study and ask the questions and go deeper. So that, like Tyler said, it isn't just something that you enjoy watching and go, yeah, I love that show, but actually you say, I was changed by that show. And that's the books that I write. I like to think of them as life-changing fiction. And that's what we want to see with the movies and the films, is life-changing films.
That's awesome. Can we talk about anything that's coming down the
Yeah,
road?
yeah, for sure. Let's do it. We opened our own studio, or our own production company, Karen Kingsbury Productions, and chose the book Someone Like You, which came out during the pandemic. It was really crazy because there was stores were all closed. One of the local stores here, Landmark Booksellers in Franklin, was going to go out of business. And I told my readers, I said, Someone Like You. They didn't even have an online presence at that point. They were pure foot traffic, and they were just dying. And I said, Someone Like You can save Landmark Booksellers. And in days, 5,000 copies went out the door of Landmark. We actually had to fulfill them at our house because they didn't have room.
Wow.
So we were like working, with our masks and distancing, all the craziness. And the store's like here today because of that. So Someone Like You was a favorite. And it's a love story about two embryos separated at the Petri dish. One becomes London, the other one's on ice for 4 years. And after those 4 years becomes Andy, Alan, another, so they're twin sisters, but they don't know of each other. And the guy who was in love with one, there's a tragedy there, and then he goes looking for this other sibling as a way to connect back with this girl, London, and finds the woman of his dreams, the one that he never knew existed. So Someone Like You. And Tyler got to direct it, so I same thing, I asked him, we were having a family vacation at the beach, and I said, hey, I'm making this movie. This is happening, we are ready to go, we're gonna make it in Nashville. There's nobody I'd rather have direct than you. Are you open?
Yep.
And
I said, of course, let's do it. And when we shot here in
Yeah.
October, November, we were the first movie to shoot at the Nashville Zoo, which was really cool.
Yeah.
We were there for a couple days, and I think what's great about Someone Like You is that, again, it's her heart, right? The stories that God gave her as far as faith and love and beautiful love stories. And I think it's great to have a series like this on Pure Flix and a movie coming out, and it all just helps bring people closer to the heart of God, I believe, because that shines through her stories. But we had a great time shooting that movie, and we hope to share it with people before the end of the year. So
yeah.
Awesome. I guess one final question. Where do these stories come from? I mean, I remember the one that's impacted me the most is your book that you wrote after 9/11.
Yeah.
And when we talked about that before, I feel you said God kind of dropped that on you even as the towers were falling.
He did.
It's just divine revelation?
I can't give it any other credit but to God alone, because it comes like a movie in my heart, and I can see the whole thing. And then I just have to get to work, and I feel like a stenographer. Like I'm capturing, I'm weaving together the physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual elements, like as fast as I can. Like I type so fast. Like I have to wear headphones sometimes so I don't get distracted by my own fingers.
I do have to say though, she's a bit of a investigative, journalist. Like you have to be careful what you say, because she might write a book about you. So, I mean, like this was inspired by some conversations that she had.
That's true. I had a conversation with somebody at the health club, and I was like, wait, what? Your son gave a lung to his wife because she had cystic fibrosis, and she only lived 3 years? What? And I said, I'm so sorry. So it didn't work? I mean, can you imagine giving a lung, like a living lung donor? And she said, no, it did work. They knew it would only buy them 3 years. And I thought, okay, that's 1,000 tomorrows. Like, what would it look like to love like that, where you would love so well that you would give someone your lung for 1,000 tomorrows? And that's the story.
You have a foundation?
Yes. So my dad always said that you have one chance to write the story of your life, and that life is not a dress rehearsal. So we, as a family, developed the One Chance Foundation, and we cover the overhead on it. So there's every dime that comes in is given to adoption grants. And what's exciting about that is that we have given grants to people who are internationally adopting and domestically, but now we actually just got pictures the other day of our first embryo adoption. So we gave a $5,000 grant to a couple looking to adopt an embryo, and they did, and their baby is born after being however long years on ice. And that's right at the heart of Someone Like You. The story that we're doing the movie on is embryo adoption. So we thought, well, if I'm going to write about it, I have to believe in it, right?
Yeah.
So we're giving grants to all different kinds of adoption, and just believing in the power of family and the power to adopt.
That's awesome. And of course, for those that don't know, I assume people may not know, adoption is is what you've done as well.
Yes, it is. We adopted 3 little boys from Haiti in 2001 and doubled our family overnight. And you can, people can read about that, the movie, 1,000 Tomorrows, or the One Chance Foundation at KarenKingsbury.com.